Spence and Bob here again, Next Level Combat, Introductory to BJJ Classes. Today we're going to talk about a couple options for takedowns for people who didn't wrestle or people who are kind of concerned about trying to, let's say, double leg or something like that, especially if the person's bigger, or you're just nervous that your double leg isn't where you want it to be, where you feel confident in shooting. So, what we're going to talk about is arm drags. These work really well, even against bigger, stronger people. It gives you a bunch of options because it kind of gives you an immediate tie and control, at least over one arm. And even if you're not able to hit the arm drag itself, it opens up a lot of other doors. So let's start first things first, talking always about a couple basics. Number one is posture. You don't want to stand completely bolt upright, and you also never want to really be bending at the waist. You always want to be bending more at the knees. And my golden rule for really spending any energy when you're starting to talk about setting up or doing takedowns is if I can't reach out and touch him with the palm of my hand, so I don't mean like fingertips reaching way out. This is too far apart for most people to spend any real energy, whether it's hand fighting, whether it's feints or whatever. To me, if you're not close enough to touch with the palm of your hand, that's when you're into setup and takedown range. When you're out here, you'll see a lot of people circling and running around, but not really accomplishing anything. You have to get comfortable with the idea that you're going to have to close the distance a little bit and start getting into, kind of shooting range before the threat of a takedown or the ability to actually do it really start to be real. So, what I'm looking for is his opposite leg forward. So he's got this one forward, which is what I want for this arm drag. If his feet are switched, I can always switch the side that I'm going to arm drag. Personally, I like to grab the wrist with the left hand and then drag with my right arm, being my dominant arm. So there are times where I'm going to try to make him switch his feet so that the leg forward is the one I want. But again, if he has his other foot forward, I can always, switch my plans, of course, and go right hand to the wrist, left hand drag. But because I prefer left hand and right arm drag, I always want his right leg forward. Reason being, I don't want to really cross all the way across his body. So if he switches his feet 1 second and I try to arm drag this arm, it's not that you can't. You certainly can. The problem is I have to cross all the way, the long way across his body. If he has his feet the way I want it though, as soon as I clear this arm, I'm into his back. So I don't have to cross in front of his chest. I just have to slide past the point of his shoulder. So a couple things. Number one is there's two basic ways to control the wrist here. One, what I call like a handshake grip. I shoot slightly above the wrist joint, and then I just let my hand slide down to where it naturally will stop. Right about here before you get past that point. I'm not grabbing his hand, I'm grabbing right at the joint. Number two, this hand, I'm not going to come to the elbow. He pulls his arm back, hand slides, especially in no-gi, people are too sweaty. Shoot this hand as deep as you can up into his armpit. I try to grab towards the tricep. And what I'm going to do is I'm not relying on being strong enough to simply yank him into position. Now, I'm certainly going to pull or drag his arm, but I'm also going to move myself. So as I come here and here, as I pass his hand towards my right armpit, so I'm passing his hand across my body, this hand comes up to the tricep as I start to pull, but I'm not just relying on that. I'm also going to slide past him and put my chest directly to his lats. I can't have a bunch of space between us here or he's simply going to turn and face back up, which is exactly what he should do. So again, if I'm here, arm drag, chest comes straight to lats. So, as I'm coming around this corner and I've beaten him to the back, keep in mind you could always try to attack the rear naked choke from here, depending on how tall they are, your confidence level. If their chin's up, you can always certainly, look to attack. You could jump on his back with a backpack, Marcelo Garcia style, things of that nature. But we're going to focus more on the actual takedown. So I'm here, armpit, through. So my right arm that was up in his armpit is going to slide out, and I'm basically connecting my hands here, around his body. I'm trapping the arm that I dragged to his side with basically like a body lock. So you have two basic options from here. The way that I used to do it would be a heel stab, which means I'm going to take my leg that's closest to his back, come through here and put the sole of my foot, not the side, but the sole, against his heel. I'm going to drop, and I'm basically going to sit him down to my left and work up to top side. There's nothing wrong with that. The only catch with doing a heel stab is it does turn it into a little bit of a scramble. So when you do it correctly, your butt should hit the mat before his does, and that is your cue to immediately come up to your knees. However, if you're going against someone who might be more athletic or faster than you are, it can turn it into a scramble, which is what you really don't want, especially if you're not confident in your wrestling. So again, arm drag here. So now, instead of the heel stab, what I'm going to do is called a tabletop. My far leg is going to step through. I'm going to make this bend. I'm going to drop to this knee, and I'm basically going to force him to sit straight over the top. So that one, the only thing you have to just keep in mind is you do have to step through behind him and bend that knee. You can't, do not leave it straight with your leg locked out. Bend the knee and basically pull him straight over the top. Okay? So, another option, if you are having trouble with the arm drag, like you get into the position, but you're just not getting any success really dragging with the arm drag. Okay, that can be either because they're bigger than you, they've got great base, they're stronger, whatever. The thing to keep in mind is, one thing that you can do from here is the hand that's up at his tricep can always slide down and double up on this wrist. So the nice part about this grip, it reinforces and hides the weaknesses of your other grip. So obviously, of course, weakest part of any grip is where your fingers are meeting. So with this grip, you're basically reinforcing the weakest part with your other hand. So here, it's like a baseball bat grip. It's incredibly strong, right? And you can do this off an arm drag, whether you shot for the arm drag and it failed, he starts pulling his arm back, it comes down, whatever the case might be. So again, this hand is staying right where it was, right at the wrist joint. This one has slid down from his tricep to just above my other hand, and now I'm 2-on-1 baseball bat grip. So, as soon as I get here, I'm going to pull it down like a rope, like I'm ringing a bell. Reason being, I'm trying to put it right to this lead leg. The more that I pull down, the more that it breaks his posture, and the more that I put weight on this leg, the more that he can't really run away from me and try to escape the takedown. So I'm here pulling, and I'm going to circle my body towards the arm and the leg, and from here, I'm not going to let the arm go until I'm done with it. I'm bending at the knees, don't bend at the waist. Pulling down, my left hand comes through the back, and I end up straight into the single leg. And you can finish the single leg a million different ways. We're not going to worry about that too much. So again, we're here, grab the wrist, I tried arm drag, doesn't work. Slide down to the baseball bat grip, pull on it, pin it towards the leg, circle towards it, punch through the back, put your head into his ribs, knock him backwards. And you can finish the single leg a lot of different ways, which we won't worry too much about. Okay? So finally, last one we're going to work on is one that I like when you get almost no reaction off the arm drag. So, meaning either your arm drag wasn't very good, or it was good and they're just too big. They just don't move, okay? You have two basic options off that. We're going to work on one that I always heard called the Schultz trip. It's one of my go-tos against bigger guys especially. So, as I'm coming through the arm drag, it's just not happening. So, as I try to drag, the hand that's in the armpit is going to slide across his body and shoot here. As I do that, my lead leg steps in, and I'm going to hook this lead leg. So this is one where you have to commit to it. You can't do this one in steps. because I'm going to drop to my hip on the lead leg that I'm hooking. And I'm going to bury my shoulder into his gut, pressing forward. So I'm not trying to drop straight down. I'm reaping his leg, and I'm trying to punch forward. So as I'm here and here, I'm going to drop and reap here. So obviously this one will often end up with you in his half guard if you don't immediately start to step out once you're to the mat. So if you're not confident in your half guard game in terms of passing it, you might want to go for other options. But I love this one because, again, you can kind of pull his leg out towards you, and as you're driving through him with your shoulder, makes it a really kind of high percentage takedown once you get confident enough to pull the trigger. So again, just a couple things, almost like any of those kind of takedowns or double leg, I am not shooting to him, I am shooting through him. I am not trying to just put my shoulder here on the front of his stomach. I am trying to bury it all the way to his back. So as I come here and here, as I step through and reap, I am coming through. I've committed at this point because I'm going to drop to my hip here and here. And immediately, you can look to step out the side. So those are 3 or 4 basic options off the arm drag. Like I said, it's a great option if you're not yet comfortable shooting, whether it's double legs, single legs, or you don't feel confident in your setups, or you just think the size difference is too much. So it's another great option to work for, especially if you didn't grow up wrestling. Thanks everybody, hope to see you soon.